Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Azabi here, back again with Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Season 1. We are on episode 23, and in the last episode, it was sort of an episode dedicated to the Ministry of Health trying to get their own back on Section 9, really, because obviously Section 9, they know what they're up to, and obviously there was the rest for Nimi, who ended up committing or trying to commit cyberbrain suicide, which is essentially fucked up his memory and everything like that, so we can't really use it as evidence or proof against them. So it's almost like all of that was for nothing. But the likes of somebody called Chief Cabinet Secretary Yakashima, apparently he's obviously higher up in the grid. That's who Nimi actually answered to. Now that guy is aware of what Section 9 are trying to do, it means that there's going to be this, I feel like there's going to be this back and forth between, them trying to, I guess, de-establish this, Section 9 and try to, get rid of them, so they can obviously sweep all this under the carpet, and it's going to be interesting going forward. But, they tried to obviously get their own back at Section 9 in the last episode by using Aramaki's long-lost brother, who was missing since World War III, I believe, as a way to sort of lure him in and try and take him out. But, as Section 9 does, they always get the job done in the end. So, yeah, he's fine now. He's in, I think, did they leave hospital? Or is he still, I think he's still in the hospital bed. And Togusa is obviously starting to get better as well, which is good. But yeah, it's kind of like back to square one in a way. I mean, obviously we are a lot sort of more in the know about the Laughing Man and everything like that, and the Major now has the Laughing Man's memories, so I'm excited to see what she obviously brings up regarding that, because obviously we haven't seen anything about it yet. We haven't seen his memories or anything like that, so that's going to be definitely interesting to see. And I think the Laughing Man's actually on what he calls the final phase of his plan, which he might go out as a martyr. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But I don't think there's anything else to really talk about, so I think we're just going to get in episode 23. If you do want to go actually watch the reaction, link is in the description below. There's also the link to the full length if you want to watch it in full, and not just the 10-minute cut version, then the offer is there for you. But yeah, nothing else to really talk about, so we're going to get in episode 23 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 23, yeah, that was a really cool episode, and especially an amazing reveal at the end that I was... I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting that, though. Because all I had in my mind... Well, I even said during the reaction, when Section 9 were obviously entering the Starchild building and going up there, I asked where Motoko was in all of this, because obviously I figured from the episode before where the Laughing Man stated that don't interfere with what I'm about to do with the final phase of my plan or whatever. I didn't know if Motoko was going to allow him to go ahead with whatever his plan was and kind of go against Section 9 in a way. But the fact that she actually became the Laughing Man, which I assume is from all of the memories that he gave. I imagine he must have given the ability, all of those. Well, because obviously if you're, transferring your memories across to someone else, then surely the idea that, he's passed along all of that hacking knowledge and everything like that as well, that she's able to do it herself, is just really cool. It just means that Motoko now has this innate ability to hack as well as the Laughing Man can. So that's just that's just really cool. And I the one thing is, I don't know to what, I guess Section 9, all of them were in on it then. They must have obviously known. But then that would mean that the whole point was to get... I guess the idea is that they wanted to hear everything that Serrano had to say about the whole thing and get his entire sort of side of the story out in the open, explained to Motoko, right? And obviously by and large Section 9, before taking him in, right? And just in case, I guess, anything does go wrong, which I'm fully expecting it to go wrong. But yeah, that's so interesting. So it's weird that, like, the Laughing Man was saying to Motoko, like, don't interfere with my final phase of the plan. But then it's like, it's almost as if by transferring his memories across, it's like before he transferred, he knew that she would, like that Motoko becoming the Laughing Man is a part of the final phase of the plan. But it's also like a cool in a symbolic way, because throughout the show we've had this whole idea about, all right, well, is this the original Laughing Man, the true one, that's doing all of this stuff, or is it copycats claiming that they are the Laughing Man? And then now you've got the Major herself being the Laughing Man in a copycat sort of way, and then and then obviously by extension of that, Serrano saying he's going to become a copycat. It's just like it's amazing, the chain of like events of everything sort of lining up in that way. Like I really enjoyed this episode. I love the flashback of everything heading into the original like hostage situation thing, where the Laughing Man had a promise basically put in place. The Laughing Man was in Serrano's head in what he calls obviously a brain dive, and he had him almost like he was almost like chained up like by a lead, almost like you're leading a dog, you know what I mean, like that brain dive thing, that he had him on a leash and was telling him like, you need to tell the truth about this whole thing. You need to come out and say that the micro machines are not at all effective in the practice of medicine, or any sort of. They don't work for cyberbrain sclerosis. So, he wanted Serrano himself to, go out and make that statement. But then, like, obviously, as soon as they got out, it was like, as soon as that brain dive was no longer there, that connection was severed. Like, the Laughing Man took the leash off. Like, Serrano like immediately turned and was like, nah, this is, you know what I mean, it's not that it's not that simple in a way, and in a lot of ways Serrano was like, no, but you don't understand, like, by saying this, it really puts the micro machine industry in a like a very like sort of between a rock and a hard place, which I feel like has been the story with Serrano from the beginning, where it's not like he wasn't even a part of all of this. Like, it's so interesting that at the very like around the beginning of this show, when we were starting to get into the Laughing Man stuff, it seemed as though like Serrano was at the center of everything that was happening. And then it's interesting to know, like, after this episode, that it's like they had nothing to do with it, but because like the likes of Emma Caruso and Yakushima, because obviously Emma Caruso was, is basically one of his underlings, I suppose. He's an underling for Yakushima. That they put this whole thing like in place, that it basically put Serrano in a dodgy place where, like I said, like between a rock and a hard place, that, you know what I mean, like he couldn't go either way. It's like he was being pulled from either side, and it's like, well, I can't do anything, like you're telling me and like, wanting me to do this out of like some sort of moral, like obviously reasoning, but that also puts damage on the micro machine industry, which he is a part of. And then from the other side, you've got them basically blackmailing him, from the government side, telling him not to say anything. And like, I like how obviously he was talking about how the police and the patrols that are, they have him in sort of protective custody aren't really there for protective custody more than just making sure that he doesn't blab his mouth about the whole thing, about the truth. But then, like back to the, the sort of flashback, when Serrano, the brain dive's lost, and he turns around and says it's not that simple, that the Laughing Man wasn't as mature as he was, as he is now. So just in that like brief moment where it's like, you know what I mean, you didn't keep your word. It's like you fucking, you know what I mean. Like it's like out of just a moment of anger and rage because he didn't keep his word. He without thinking, he pulls out a gun. Although the interesting thing is that to some degree, I think that must have been premeditated, right? Because he had the gun. You know what I mean? He had it there for a reason. Now, I guess it could be a thing of like last resort, kind of to protect his, identity or something like that, because obviously at that point was when he was trying to make moves, and if he was ever discovered, then, it could be a thing of like last resort. But he did have the gun there, so I think to some degree it was premeditated. Like, he obviously he wasn't fully trusting of Serrano to actually keep his word, so, but yeah, it is interesting to see like how sort of different I guess he was back then. That he was trying to get stuff done, but that and the whole thing of him saying like I had to become like a deaf mute, like that, all of that coming together, really really cool. Like the idea that he couldn't do anything like anymore. Like he'd reached a point where he can't, you know what I mean? Because everything was sort of, I guess he put everything into trying to, like, Serrano was that was his sort of lifeline in a way, like to get, like, for all of this to come crashing down is Serrano needs to come out and say this, but because he didn't, and, all of the things with, obviously, Yakushima fucking coming in, so corrupt, man, and everything like that, it got to the point where he had to just sit back, become a deaf mute, like not even want to associate anything. Like he doesn't want to hear about anything revolving around, the government corruption and shit that was going down, and not saying anything. It's almost like he, even though he knows about, like he knew obviously about all of the bad shit that was happening because of this, all these people dying, even though there was a vaccine that could help. But because he can't do anything, it's like he has to shut off his senses to all of that happening around him because he can't change anything. And then obviously talking about, back in the very beginning of the well, not the true beginning, but like around the start of the show, like in the first, somewhere around the first 6 episodes, we had the superintendent Dido guy, right, who obviously was sort of making moves, trying to get things set up. Which basically sparked the Laughing Man sort of back into action. It's like it kind of pissed him off. So, and you obviously remember back in that sort of when the Laughing Man actually came around and he took control of one of the guys, right? And he fucking like it's like he was looking down, shouting at the guy. It's like fucking it's just crazy. Everything. It's a really well written show. Like. I've had talks, I guess, people in the comments saying that, the first season is kind of poorly paced because of the amount of sort of shit going on in the middle, like a lot of standalone stuff that, the pacing is kind of like really off. But in terms of I guess if you just watch the complex episode, which I guess is I guess it is actually something you could do. Like, I don't think... Of course, like, there are things now that are coming out from standalone episodes that, end up helping in the complex episodes. But, like, I feel like you could watch all just the complex ones and, you could be fine. But, yeah, it's just... Everything coming together and getting, all of that information back from... the previous far back at the very beginning of the show, like all of it coming together. And obviously Daido and Imakurusu were both obviously under that Yakushima umbrella, I suppose, who's very fucking powerful in government. He has that connection with the Navy and everything like that, which seems as though that's where he's obviously getting the suit of armor for that one guy, and bringing that in. Damn, dude, like it's at the point where I think out of the whole government, I don't really know if there's anybody higher up that is as corrupt, you know what I mean? But then it's just like, that means that he is at the top of that hierarchy where everyone underneath him is also corrupt, and whether they're being obviously blackmailed to do so, or they're just truly on board with what he's doing, I don't know. But like, it's Serrano obviously ended up falling under that sort of umbrella, because obviously he came in acting like he was there to sort of to help things along, but in reality he was using the Laughing Man thing as a way to, like control the stock market in a way, and basically propel him further up the fucking the chain in terms of government and everything like that. And it's just like, fucking hell, man. I mean, Yakushima, yeah, I mean, smart in what he did, but damn, he's a corrupt bastard, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, they've even brought back the Interceptors as well, which is something that was like only mentioned in one episode, where Tagusa's friend, I think from the police force, he got like assassinated, really, didn't he? Because they essentially hacked his eyes and forced him off the road. But yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you can obviously use them in tandem with like trying to see the Laughing Man. You know what I mean? That it obviously bypasses the hack of perception, which is just really cool. But yeah, man, like I really, really enjoyed this episode. Like these, yeah, people weren't wrong. These are very, very cool episodes that I'm really enjoying. So yeah, I'm happy to just keep on going through. And the good thing is as well is that, because I don't know if it'll be in the reaction, but I mentioned during the reaction that this is the first episode of like a bulk recording session where I react to a lot of episodes, because I have a day off where I'm just reacting to a load. So I've got 3 more episodes of Ghost in the Shell to react to today, which will obviously take me to the finale of this season. So I'm happy to just go through up until the end of this season. I mentioned during the reaction, again, I don't know if it'll be in the 10-minute cut version, but it's like, because we're coming up to the end of this season, it seems like it is like, since episode 20 it has just ramped up, and with the whole thing with the Laughing Man talking about the final phase, we've got Serrano like in a place where it's like, right, he's gonna come out and say something. I don't know if because it could be the end of the whole Laughing Man thing altogether, and season 2 is about something else. I think maybe it is, because I think the way that it seems to be going is that season 1 wraps up everything with the Laughing Man, and then I can imagine like season 2 going into like section 9, trying to take down the corruption in government, right? It's like section 9 has been influenced by the Laughing Man to continue this on in a way, so yeah, I really like the twist of everything that has happened since the very beginning of the show, where it's like, this Laughing Man guy is like, is he the villain of the show? And then towards now, we're obviously got the whole thing where it's not that at all. He's just a guy that has done things that you consider crimes, but for the betterment of, society, and the citizens. So yeah, just really cool episode, but that is all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. I'm going to end up watching episode 24. That'll obviously come out the same time as this for the YouTube public, but if you want to gain access to episode 25 and 26, the finale, right now, then you can do by becoming an early access tier patron over on my Patreon. Link is in the description. There's also the link to the full length down there as well, so if you want to become a full length tier patron to watch any of my reactions and not just the 10-minute cut versions, then that's there for you as well. And there's the exclusive tier, which gives you access to movie reactions and things like that when I start reacting to movies, which is coming up very, very soon. And there's also a link to the Discord if you want to get down there and in there, then you can do. But that's all I've got for this episode. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.